Who am I to
Do what your father couldn't do. You playing small isn't gonna make you bigger.
As my dad always said, sometimes you just gotta do it for the love of it.
Hey, this is Aurora Folks from the Nocturnal, and today we are virtually sitting down with Brittany O'Grady of Apple TV Plus's newest drama, Little Voice. How are you feeling today, Brittany?
I'm feeling great. I'm so happy to be talking with you, Aurora, today. I'm very, very blessed and happy to be here. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you again for taking the time to do so. Actually, I just wanted to first off start off by saying happy belated birthday to you. I do know, I know that it was June 2nd, but while that is the case, I know a lot of people tend to celebrate like all month long, and some people got really creative celebrating during quarantine. Did you celebrate in any type of creative way, or did you find a way of celebrating during that time?
Honestly, my 24th birthday was definitely a really somber one. A time of self-reflection throughout the day. But my family, I drove up from Atlanta and came to DC the day before, and my parents made some food, and I had some friends over at a distance with masks on, and we just kind of reconnected for the first time in person in months. So that was a huge blessing. I'm just happy to be safe, and I'm happy to see that the world is acknowledging something that's been affecting so many Black people in this country and around the world for so long. So that's also a gift too. So I was very happy that that day was chosen to kind of in solidarity acknowledge that and then see where it went for the rest of the month. So yeah.
Right. No, I understand that completely. And actually, I was going to touch on that. I saw that you actually posted on your Instagram that day. You posted a Black photo for Blackout Tuesday. And you even posted an MLK quote saying, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." And I actually found that really interesting because I did notice there were some people who chose not to, I guess, speak up about Black Lives Matter, or maybe they didn't want to touch that subject.
Mhm.
But why do you feel like why did you choose to speak out, and why do you feel like it's important for people to speak out during this time?
I think it's super important whether, people choose to speak out on social media or to quietly reflect maybe offline or do the work offline.
Yeah.
I think it's super important to acknowledge injustice when it's happening right in front of you and when it's so embedded in so many systems and uh, so many systems in our society. So I think that it's super important for humans to acknowledge human pain. And I've always been someone that has been empathetic and cares a lot about people. And as a Black person, as a biracial Black girl,
Right.
I've seen racism affect my family, the
Yeah.
generations before me, my peers, and even like microaggressions and how people in my life experienced it a lot worse in ways than I think sometimes I ever did in my life,
Right.
just because of the way that I look or where I grew up. So I think it's super important, and it's not even just important, it's necessary.
Right.
and and I think we all have to stick up for one another.
I agree. I completely agree. And while it definitely seems like you don't shy away from like expressing, especially when it comes to things that you're passionate about that are important to you. I mean, at age 4 alone, you were already shooting commercials and just really putting yourself out there performing on stage. And this is very different from your character Best in Little Voice, who doesn't seem like completely comfortable in front of an audience yet, or doesn't have like that confidence yet. Was confidence something that you feel like you always had, or was it something more so you had to kind of grow into over time?
Mm, that's yeah, that's a really interesting question. I feel like as I get older,
Mm.
I'm gonna be honest, I think I get more insecure as I
Oh,
get older. When I was a kid, I felt like expressing myself came so naturally to me, and it was something that was a part of me. I
right,
loved making people laugh. I loved imagining things and telling stories, and that was something I really loved to do. And I think as you get older and when I started to really pursue my career full on, I
mm,
think that's when it became a little harder to be myself at times, because it seems like the opportunities get bigger and you want to be able to fit the bill. So
Yeah.
it's been an interesting journey as like in my late teens and my young adulthood, my early 20s, on like continuing to find that inner child and remember that I've always felt this inclination and love for what I do, and not letting the outside noise get in the way of that, and like really reconnecting with my genuine self, you know?
No.
So yeah, it's kind of like that. It's a little backwards.
It's interesting, but I feel like everyone has like their own way of like growing into their own. So that's definitely your way, and that's totally cool. And honestly, that level of confidence definitely seems to have gotten you into some like amazing breakout roles. I mean, your first series leading role was as Simone in Star and Fox's Star. And it was a role that you said it was the first time you felt like you were acknowledged as someone of your own race, because you're usually cast as a Latina. And
Mhm.
even now on Little Voice as Best, you're a biracial character with a Black father and a white mother. But can you talk to us about what it meant for you to finally play someone reflective of yourself and seeing that kind of racial diversity on screen?
I was super excited about that because I think growing up I didn't really see um interracial parents. Maybe, Simone, Raven Simone, sorry. For Raven Simone, when she was in the Cheetah Girls, she was
Right.
biracial. I was like, oh, like it, and it's not something you really think about until you see it the representation reflected on screen. You're
Right.
like, oh, that's like me. Or the Cheerios commercial, because that caused some controversy.
Yeah.
But I was so excited to see, um, you know, something that was me
Right.
too. And that was super important for me playing Simone and just being able to be acknowledged in my own community and just around the world as who I actually am and what my background is. And that was really exciting and it felt really good. It felt really, really good. So I'm yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I saw an interview you did where I think you were on that show The Real, and you were there with Adrienne Bailon, and you got to talk to her about how important it was to see Cheetah Girls during that time, because I grew up on Cheetah Girls too, Cheetah Girls.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing like her with her curly hair and Raven Simone with her curly hair, and I just was like, this is so amazing to see that reflected back from what I
Yeah.
saw on TV. So I totally get that completely.
Yeah, and even like Sister Sister with Tia and Tamara, and
Yes.
they're biracial as well, and they always had their curls popping too. I watched Twitches, so I couldn't remember who had their hair straight and who had their hair curly. But I didn't want to leave, Tamara out of the conversation because she literally, like, I felt like I didn't acknowledge her curls and her way of paving the way. And we went to the same college. Went to Pepperdine. I went to
Oh,
Pepperdine University, and she's amazing as well and definitely has paved the way. So I just want to like make sure that she felt acknowledged too in that interview. I like, yeah.
no, absolutely. And you yourself are paving the way for the younger generation as well. I also saw that you mentioned when you did play Simone in Star, you felt like you sort of created her character. Do you feel like you had to do this with Bess and Little Voice? And if so, like what ways, or how did you find yourself finding similarities to Bess in the show?
When I got the audition for Best Little Voice, I really identified with how awkward she was and how genuine she was. And I've definitely had moments where I felt like people were laughing at me, not with me. So I really loved that human experience that she had in that scene, and that was the one that's in the pilot. And I just really identified with her, and it was a lot of conversations with Jesse Nelson, who created the show, a lot of conversations even with Sarah Bareilles about her musicality and where the music comes from and how it inspires her in her journey. And I I just kind of, with my acting process, it depends. If the character is in a lot of the scenes, I try to take before I take on the role, getting as much backstory as I possibly can, but then also really spending time in the present moment, kind of like how we do it,
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
we're there in the moment and we don't really realize how it has impacted us or shaped us until we look back. So I don't really know who the character is on the outside until I watch the work finished, which is interesting. I'll probably find different ways to portray characters as well. But Yeah, if that
No,
makes sense.
no, yeah, I completely get that. It's just looking at kind of from like the outside in, I guess, because you don't really know a character, I guess, until you're really getting into the show, and even then, they have so many layers. And speaking of that, I feel like going back to Star, I feel like Simone is kind of like the polar opposite of Bess. Like she can be very like angsty and cryptic, but Bess seems like she kind of wears her heart on her sleeve, and she displays a lot of vulnerability.
Yeah.
So even though that gets the best of her sometimes, and I remember watching an interview, you were talking about seeing like a side of sensitivity for yourself as a strength. Did that play a lot into your character in playing Bess, and like what drew you to her as a whole?
Yeah, I think the really cool thing was Jesse Nelson and Sarah Bareilles are very empathic, sensitive people as well.
Hmm.
And they really wrote that into the character of Bess. So we kind of all were super connected to one another. And that was something that also attracted me to playing the character. And I felt like Simone too, her vulnerability was so internal.
Yeah,
Like there's so many ways that I identified with her as well. Just externally, she came off differently,
yeah,
but she in ways wore her heart on her sleeve, but handled it differently to the outside world by
yeah,
just her I don't give a attitude, which I
right.
love. But yeah, Bess was like super wears her heart on her sleeve, and she is also really determined to be seen in authentic light.
Yeah,
And I thought that was really cool. And I think Sarah Bareilles has tried to be seen in authentic light when she first started getting into the music business and the music industry. So yeah, I felt like the sensitivity was a huge aspect, and I felt like the layer was so thin
yeah.
for me and Bess. We're a little more alike.
That's very cool. So you can even relate more to that character and play it even more true to the character itself, which is really cool. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And when speaking with other actors, like I often hear that like the vibe that you have with your castmates is can be like a make or break kind of situation.
Yeah.
Fortunately, having seen a few episodes of Little Voice, which was amazing, by the way, I particularly found the chemistry between Bess and her brother Louis to just be very like endearing and so sweet. Can you discuss what that bond was like and with the rest of the cast?
Oh, for sure. Kevin, who plays Louis, Bess's brother, is a fantastic actor. It was so, like, as soon as we had our first scene together, he is so dedicated and so on. It made it so easy for me to play his sister.
Yeah,
And that I really look up to Kevin and how much hard work and dedication that he does have to the craft. Like he had the most dialogue out of the whole show, and he nailed it every time. And I was someone that really got hung up on making sure that every word was perfect, and I
yeah.
would freak out about it. And so I always felt supported by him, you
Oh,
know, and inspired because he literally had so much dialogue and it was so specific. So he was amazing to work with, and the rest of the cast is incredible. I mean, Phil, Shalini, Sean, and Colton, they're all super talented. Colton and I really bonded in music. Phil is like, I loved playing best friends with him on the show, and we had a great chemistry, and he is so funny and so talented. And Shalini also played my roommate, my best friend. She is like a woman. Like I look up to her, and Sean is such a sweet, dedicated actor, someone who always was there for me when he was like, if you need anything in the scene, please let me know. And he always consistently checked on me when we were doing the scenes and making sure that it felt authentic, which is so nice to have. So everybody was just fire, in my opinion. But
it definitely showed on the show. You can see that chemistry between each character, which was really nice and refreshing to see, which is great. So for this role, though, to just be only your second leading role in the television series, you already have like a really crazy impressive resume. Like you worked with Queen Latifah, yeah, Naomi Campbell, Lenny Kravitz, and now you're working with executive producer and composer Sarah Bareilles. So what has your experience been like so far in working with them, and have any of them taught you anything that you could take away?
oh, for sure. I've been really lucky to work with some great people.
Yeah,
I think that the one thing that I've loved is getting to learn for sure from them. I think Queen Latifah, just her presence, I met her when I was 19 years old, and we did the series till I was 22. And she's a very calm force, very confident. She, commands the room.
Mhm.
And that is something that I admired so much. And she's so authentically herself and down to earth. And when there were times where I needed to look up to somebody, she was always there. And Sarah Bareilles was also super kind. She guided me through her music and gracefully passed the torch on to me to be able to sing such challenging music.
Yeah,
And she's so honest, down to earth, genuine, and uncompromising on who she is, which I just admire in people so much. So I've been really, really lucky so far and have not been disappointed. And also Lenny Kravitz is one of the nicest guys I've ever worked with in my life. Like, he's a really cool dude. I'll add that in there. Like,
five.
he's
Yeah,
he's a vibe. Like, he's super, like, he was very kind. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
But unfortunately, as we know, Star was sadly and unexpectedly not renewed for season 4. I know. But instead of you feeling deterred, you picked right back up. You went in to do your first horror film, Black Christmas, and you also just last year landed your leading role. Oh, I'm sorry, not well, you did the show, the movie last year, but this year you actually landed your leading role in Little Voice, and that's like a pure leading role. So, what would you say kind of like drives your perseverance?
Oh, um, you know, I love to do what I do. I love to do it well. Um, and I feel really dedicated to the art. And I don't know if that like sounds pretentious. Like, I'm dedicated to the art. No, no. But like, I feel really, I really take my craft seriously. And one thing I love meeting people. I love creating with people, and I love telling stories. I love to be in my imagination, and I love to be able to support myself and the people around me and boost people up, and whenever I get the opportunity to work and to be around amazing people, I just count my lucky stars. And I think it's just kind of, I've been really lucky, and I'm really, really grateful for the opportunities that I have had.
That's amazing. And just as a quick side note, I saw that you did like a Skype or a FaceTime with Ryan Destiny, and you guys talk. Yeah, that was so cute. You guys are like so adorable. But I saw that you guys were talking like in that I was watching. So you guys said there might be a possibility of doing like a Star Zoom party. So can we expect that or?
Oh, maybe. Well, like, if we have something official, that's totally up to Lee Daniels, and I know he's a very busy man. But we definitely do catch up at times. We were doing Zoom parties in the beginning of quarantine. We miss each other a lot. At least I can say that. I miss them so much. I felt so, we were a family, and we went through so much together for so long, and I love them. So, and Ryan and I are like two peas in a pod. We're Patrick and SpongeBob, it's just like, and yeah, we've got like the whole cast, we all love each other so much. And that was a blast, that show.
It's so
Yeah.
great when you can continue that. Yeah, like even after the show, you guys still remain like close with that bond. So that's
That,
really sweet.
yeah, yeah, that is the biggest gift, I would say. The biggest gift was knowing that I have these people in my life, I would say, for the long run, for sure.
That's awesome. I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
yeah, of course. No, absolutely. And just so the viewers I'm sure are really excited about this, and they can actually catch the series July 10th, which they'll be lucky enough to actually hear you sing a variety of original music from Sarah Bareilles, which is really, really dope because she's an amazing like lyricist. Like her songwriting skills are like up there.
Oh yeah.
So like I love it. So and you actually recently tweeted that you when you sang the opening theme song, or when you I guess you guys co-sang or you sang different parts of it, you said that song Little Voice truly resonated with you. Can you talk about that with us?
Yeah, yeah. The song Little Voice, when I had the final callback, or the test, the official test for the role of Bess,
Yeah.
that was I had to learn the song. And when I first heard it, I literally got goosebumps because I identified with it so much, because it's about being who you are. Like, I'm trying to think of the lyrics. It's everything I am and what I'm not and all I'm trying to be. And this is the part where I spit it all out and you decide what you think of me. And I think that that's something that resonates deep with my life. I think with a lot of people's lives, and and the journey of finding your authentic truth and having the courage to speak out even when people kind of discourage you or
Yeah.
say that you're wrong or invalidate you. So that was why I really resonated with the song so much, and the character. It was just the right time. I think the roles that I play, or the roles that I've been lucky to portray, have come at the right time in the right chapter of my life. And I think a lot of actors actually feel that way. So yeah.
That's special. No, that really is, and I can see how that song can resonate with even the show itself. But that song in particular, like I had to play it back in the trailer. I'm like, wait a minute, let me run it back because
Yeah.
it was. I really like it. Like I love the lyrics, and I think when you can actually hear the lyrics and not just listen to the beat or the melody, like that's how you know you have like a really solid song. And that was really beautiful, actually. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Cool.
And so as this series is loosely based on Sarah Bareilles' life and like her career starting in her early 20s, it's
Mhm.
actually appropriately titled after her 2007 breakout album, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
What was the collaboration like in with you two working together? Like, how did that come together?
She, when we started filming,
Yeah.
I had to learn a lot of the songs pretty fast. And I was one of the last people cast in the show. I know that some of my cast members were cast, in February, March of 2019. And then I got officially cast in August of 2019, and
Wow.
straight into filming. So Sarah, we worked together to find the right key for me. She would send me her demos. I would practice with a vocal coach and a guitar and piano coach. And we would go into the studio and record together. So Sarah was right by my side
Oh,
every time I was in the studio, and she gave me notes and gave me advice and guidance. And that's kind of how we collaborated together. And she kind of assured me, it doesn't have to be this way. It can work for your voice. And yeah, I thought that was super cool. She's really great at that. I know that she's, done that for her music and Waitress. Like she's like,
yeah.
if this isn't the right key for you, you can go down a half step or up a half step. It's whatever works for your voice. I think that's really dope.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, like she gave you the opportunity to kind of like put your like fit yourself into that song, which is
Yeah.
really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I even heard like that song Little Voice itself, it took her a long time to even release that song. I think on her Twitter, one of her fans was like, I waited like 12 years to hear this song, and I heard you do it like 12 years ago, and now I can actually hear the studio version. So that must have been like surreal for you to actually perform that song that she's had for so long. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt really excited, and I hope I did her justice. And yeah, I think that's super. I'm really excited for Sarah too, because I know that she faced a lot of, she's kind of a salmon swimming upstream,
Yeah.
to allow her to express herself in the way that she wanted to express herself. So I'm glad that that song got the justice that it deserved. So
Awesome. And Little Voice, that we all can see this in the trailer. Little Voice was shot in New York City. And I found that it like really showcased like the authenticity of like what it's like for someone to be having something that they're passionate about and really kind of like struggling to pay rent, having to ride the subway all the time, and kind of holding down multiple odd jobs, which we've all had to do at some point, you know. But while you're not, it is what it is. But while you're not like originally a New Yorker, like like myself or people from New York, how do
yeah.
you feel like the location helped to kind of aid her story, Bessa's story?
Um, I felt like, I feel like New York is a magical big place with a lot of opportunity. And I think that it's also hard.
Yeah,
Like I'm from the DC area, so I would go up and audition when I was a kid, in New York, and that was a super hard experience. And I think that the show kind of ingrained, like, it best embodies the struggle, but also the opportunity at the same time. So I feel like people from New York are one of a kind, truly, because I think that you guys experience everyone, and you're allowed to be whoever you want to be, and people don't really care. And that's the really cool thing. They don't care in a good way.
No,
Like,
yeah,
nobody's bothered by it. You're not in a town where you have to fit a mold. And that's what I love about the show being in New York. So that's really cool. Shout out to New York and New Yorkers, yourself, like,
thank you.
yes.
No, yeah, it's I think our city is definitely it is kind of like a melting pot. So we do get to see people of all backgrounds and walks of life. So it's really it's great. I think it's so cool. And I'm glad that you got to experience that while shooting in New York as well. So
Yeah. I felt good. It was like the first time I felt, you know, not scared of this of the city, I think, because when I was a little girl, it was a really intimidating thing to like go up and audition and get rejected, and
right.
but that's just one perspective. It's kind of in a way self-absorbed because there's so much more opportunity out there, and you just got to get past the fear and you'll see the beauty. So I'm glad that I got to do that, get past the fear, and just experience the city as a young woman.
Yeah,
That felt really empowering. So
amazing. That's
yeah.
awesome. And you saw it at the best time because since you guys did this pre-quarantine, so you got to really experience it while we were at our best. So that's
No, it was literally the most beautiful time. I had the best time, and I can't wait to go back. I can't wait for the city to heal.
yeah,
And like, I just think that I'm excited for a new normal
same.
and for people to feel safe, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely, definitely. I'm waiting for that as well. But we're in this in the meantime.
Yeah.
Interesting. So one of the other things I did want to ask you, since the show was filmed in New York and it really captured like that authenticity of the city, the show itself also touched on topics like dealing with substance abuse, sexuality, and complicated dynamics between families. So given that these are such like sensitive topics, a lot of people might find that challenging to play, I imagine. But how did you find it in taking on these topics?
I think we all of us as a cast are really excited to tackle um those phenomenons, and I think our creator Jesse thought it was super important
Yeah,
that that many people were represented and their stories were represented in an authentic way, because this is real life, um so I think I'm super excited for people to see themselves in the characters. And even if you're not, or even if your life is not what the character specifically is going through, I think that it might be really good for people who might have a narrow perspective, or just kind of like,
yeah.
I hope it gives them the opportunity to relate to a character they didn't think that they would.
Also, and I'm sure they will. Everyone can find something in this series to relate to and hold on to. So that's going to be great. And just for our last question, talk to me about what is next for Brittany O'Grady. Like, what do you got on the table?
Probably just cooking something, riding my bike, maybe doing a couple interviews here and there, and hopefully seeing what, people feel after watching the show. Hopefully it's positive. I have a strong feeling that it will be. And my door is open. I'm kind of just taking it day by day. I hope that I just hope things are changing in a positive way. And yeah, just I think I'll binge watch a new show, or like do what everyone else is doing. I'm along for the ride as well. I guess the whole world is. So
Yeah,
that's what's
that's,
up with me.
I know. Well, at least we're all in it together,
Oh,
and
for
we will get through this. We will persevere. But again, thank you so, so much for your time. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for sitting down and talking with us virtually.
Yeah, no, it was awesome, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yes.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hope you have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Bye.